And welcome to the Confound Millennial, starring Steven Stirvin Michaels and featuring guest co-host Derrick the Mothman Piercy.
Hello, hello. What's up?
What's up, man? It's good. It's weird. It's weird having you here cuz you're really just in another room in the same house.
Yeah, it's magic though.
It's magic.
People think I'm at the moth. You can see in the background, it looks like I'm
Oh,
at the
I
Mothman
forgot
place, man.
about that. You're coming
Yeah, it
to us
looks like it.
live from the Mothman Museum.
It looks like he's literally taking a shit behind me.
Dude, I remember. We'll get into why he has a Mothman shirt, why there is a Mothman statue, but I just remember when we saw this statue a few days ago, someone was like, "You got to check out his ass cheeks on the other side."
Who said that? What?
You didn't hear that? There was this dude walking out of the museum that was like, make sure you check out Mothman's ass cheeks.
No, man. I see. I've been there. So I go to the Mothman Festival every year almost. I mean, they didn't have it this year, but I have never looked his ass. So, dude, that seems like a missed opportunity. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, he's got, as you can see in the picture behind you, he's got a very detailed ass.
I wonder what's back there. I mean, you think there could be something poking out there?
So, Derrick, who are you?
Uh, that's a tough question, man. It's a very philosophical question. I don't know if I've got an answer, man. I'm just a dude who likes cryptids and likes Mothman and ghosts and stuff, and just doing my thing.
So, uh, you're here today mainly because of your affinity for, like you said, cryptids and specifically in this case, Mothman. What the hell is a
Yeah.
Mothman for those that aren't as savvy on this world of cryptids?
Well, that's a good question. See, a Mothman is it's you got to think of it like this. If you can imagine a man and you can imagine a moth, but you put them together, it's a Mothman. I mean, you look at the statue behind me, you can't really see because you can just see his ass, but that one's kind of like a humanoid dude with some big moth wings behind him. He's kind of got I don't know, like a 1950s like alien kind of insect face. But if you go to people talking about Mothman and some of the sightings, a lot of times he seems to have like owl-like properties, um, and maybe not necessarily that humanoid looking.
All right. So, um, and as a follow up question, Mothman is considered a cryptid. How would you describe a cryptid?
Okay, so like a cryptid, I think it literally would be like so there's a whole study that's called cryptozoology, and so cryptid or cryptozoology is like the study of hidden animals. So it's your Bigfoots, your Loch Ness monsters, your Jersey Devils, your Chupacabra, alien shit, stuff like that. And so he's a cryptid, just kind of something that people think's out there, but not a lot of people see it. We can't prove it's out there, which I think that can also entail animals that have gone extinct that people still think are out there. So that may be more believable for some people, that those things are still out there. And there's been instances where we thought things were gone and they come back, like I'm gonna butcher the hell of this. It was a Koalacanth. I don't remember. There's a Pokemon. See, going back to some other expertise, I'm an expert on the Pokemon called Relicanth, which is based on this fish that we thought was extinct, but turns out it's not extinct.
It's like, I was trying to explain cryptids and that kind of stuff to somebody I was talking to the other day, and they were like, "Is Loch Ness monster considered a cryptid?" I was like, "I guess so." And they're like, and they asked me, "Do I believe in Nessie?" And I said yes, because I do. I do believe Nessie is out there. That's my favorite of all of the mythological, possibly could be real, could be just a load of horseshit animals out there. And they were so thrilled. They're like, "I never meet anyone that believes in Nessie."
Well, I'd hate to be a bummer, but I probably don't believe in that. But
Wow.
I mean, whatever floats your boat, man.
You don't believe in Nessie?
Which I mean, I want to. I'm like Fox Mulder. I want to believe, but I just haven't seen one. Take me over to Scotland. Let me see a Nessie. I'll be all about it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Right now. Right here.
Let's just start. Let's just start walking, man.
Fuck
I'm
this
go. Let's go.
podcast. Let's go.
Let's walk over there. I'm fine with that. You know what's interesting? We were talking the other day about these cryptids or these monsters, because it seems like up here there's all kinds of different ones. There's like the Flatwoods monster. There's the Mothman. There's the Hopkinsville goblins. There's like all kinds of stuff up there. You were saying how like down in like Georgia and shit that there's not, but I was looking it up earlier, and there totally is.
Okay, what do we got in Georgia?
I'm gonna hit you up here. Let me pull it up. All right, this is what you guys got, and this is interesting because you love Nessie so much. There is Alti the sea monster, which is a Nessie-like creature. That what the hell is that river called? Anyway, you got one down there in your Altamaha River. Don't know what the fuck that is, but
Never heard of it.
there you go. Never heard of it. You've got a Nessie down there, man.
Well, you see, what we do have is, in the area I'm from, is we don't have legends of a Nessie or, I mean, obviously we got Bigfoot sightings, but what we had down there was a legend of these gigantic 10-foot long catfish that would eat a whole man. There's a legend down there that a chicken truck ran off of a bridge and divers went down to salvage the body, or not salvage, but get the body of the driver back. And when they got down there, they said that there were just all these gigantic catfish eating both the body and the chickens, and that they swore that they would never dive in Lake Lanier again.
Well, that's super creepy.
So
We've got. Go ahead.
So I don't know if that counts, but that's our local monster legend, is monster catfish.
I mean, I'm looking at this this Nessie like thing down there, and I mean, it could look like a big catfish. I get it. I'm looking at some other stuff on here. You guys got fairies, maybe? That's like the worst one, I think, if you're talking about legends. But you know what? Yeah, we were talking about. I mentioned the Mothman Festival earlier, but I always have people come and speak, and I think that I could suspend my belief enough for like Bigfoots. I can suspend it a little bit for Nessie, maybe, but I swear to God, people get in there and they just talk about seeing fucking fairies, and that's about where I'd have to draw the line. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think that's. I mean, what the hell, man?
What is it? What is it about fairies that makes you draw the line there?
Okay, well, I don't know. See, okay, so Bigfoot, that's easy one, right? So the thought that there could be some kind of like early man or some kind of ape-like creature that's out in the woods that we just haven't found. It must be sneaky as hell. Maybe, sure, could be. But like you're walking in the woods and there's a bunch of little fairies. I just don't know, man. It just seems unbelievable to me that that's a thing, and I can't get behind it.
I do know. Well, I mean, You got to think the same people that are seeing fairies are doing ass ton amounts of psilocybin mushrooms.
I guess that makes sense.
I mean, have you ever heard of somebody that's like, oh yeah, I believe in woodland sprites and fairies, and thought this person wouldn't touch mushrooms? You ever, those two things don't go together.
Well, I will say that the people that were given the lecture who had seen fairies, there was something wrong with them. I don't know what it was, something off. I don't know if it was mushrooms though, but I definitely get the idea there's something going on there.
Definitely something not 100% there. And if you've seen fairies and you want to come on the podcast and tell us, that we're dead wrong, let us know. Leave us a comment. But until then, until you speak up, we're going to call it here. The official stance of the Confound Millennial is fairies are bullshit. Except for the
Boom.
tooth fairy.
Right. Well, and I think that the Mothman, it's a possibility. Bigfoot's a possibility. Loch Ness Monster, I guess, could be a possibility. There's a lot of cool stuff, and I think that one of the things that I enjoy about cryptids so much is like these local legend ones, like Hopkinsville Goblins. That's over in Western Kentucky. I mean, it's a story of like a bunch of people on a farm who they saw like a comet go over. There's a big crash. Meteor hits Earth. They go out and investigate, and all of a sudden these goblin like little alien things are coming out of the woods trying to get in their house, and they're shooting at them. And that's just kind of cool that kind of stuff, that legends and stuff is just kind of in the community. It's out here. It's around us. I think it's neat.
Wait, they were shooting at the goblins or the goblins were shooting at them?
No, they were shooting at the goblins, and then so based on some of the reports, I believe like they were shooting them with the guns, and the guns weren't doing anything to them. The bullets were. It sounded like they were hitting metal, but like the goblins didn't. Like I think they did go back into the woods, but they didn't seem to be hurt. Again, I hate to keep going back to Pokemon because, but listen, I'm a Pokemon expert too. Shoot, but I'm trying to think which Pokemon it is. It's actually based off the Hopkinsville Goblin.
Wow. There's actually a Pokemon based off of a Eastern Kentucky legend.
Western Kentucky.
Western.
Yeah.
Whoa. Sorry.
Sableye, man. Sableye, that's one.
Okay. But here's I'd forgotten what I was going to say. Sorry, I'm wrapping my mind around metallic goblins coming out of the woods. Oh yeah. I was up till like 4:30 last night after we went to this Mothman Museum, and let me tell you, these woods, like there's a creepiness to the North Georgia woods, but these Kentucky woods got a whole nother thing coming. Like everything I heard, I was like, it's Mothman. Mothman's coming for me. And Mothman's not even from here. I was like, there's some sort of cryptid in the woods coming to take me away. Or at the very least, like a mountain lion going to eat me alive.
You know what they say, we do have those here, which is kind of weird. I mean, I guess not officially, but people see those here all the time. So it's kind of like a cryptid in this area. But, if you're talking about cryptids here, I mean, Eastern Kentucky, it's obviously Bigfoot. That's the one,
Have you, now, this might just be my understanding, but have you ever partaken in a Bigfoot hunt or squatch watching? Squatching.
Did you just assume that I've done that, or did someone say that I had done that?
I know some people close to you and your family have done that, so I have assumed that you have partaken.
I have partaken. I've been out a couple times over in Carter County. out in Grand. It's about as far away from civilization as you can get. So there's actually a Carter County Bigfoot Research Society over there that I've been to some of the meetings, and um, I've been out there. The big part of the Bigfoot hunting that we've done or that I've been a part of is going out in the woods and doing what they call knocking, where you get a big stick and you hit the tree and then you listen to see if the Bigfoot's gonna smack a tree and answer you back. And then obviously people do like Bigfoot calls and they holler and try to get responses. That's what Bigfoot huntings look like whenever I've been. But yeah, I've been a couple times. I think it's neat. I kind of feel like maybe there's just people in one holler beating on trees and then people in another holler beating on trees back to them, and then everybody's thinking that they're talking to Bigfoot because like people in that area they see a lot of sightings. Like it's like a well known thing, especially over there in Grand. So I mean, it's a happening place as far as Bigfoot goes, and everybody knows it. And I think everybody's kind of on the lookout.
It's funny that you mentioned like smacking a tree or something as being a way to find Bigfoot, because while I was still in Georgia in the rehab that I was at, there was one night where there was about two or three of us outside, or two or three other people than me outside smoking cigarettes, and we just all of the sudden hear this out in the woods, like at 1 a.m, and we just keep hearing this and like there's something up, like we can see tree branches like 10 foot in the air moving around, and we're freaking out. We wake up the redneck. The redneck is like, we need to get brooms and whatever weapons we can find. We need to go track this thing down. And this goes on for about 15 minutes of this screeching in the woods. And then all of a sudden we hear at one point like this thumping on the ground, like, or against a tree or something. And that is the point where we realize, oh, somebody's fucking with us. Like, we believed all of the noises we were hearing until we heard that thumping on the ground. And they were like, oh, somebody's just messing with us.
Did you figure out who it was?
Yes, two guys that were at work decided to take the mountain trail back home in the middle of the night, risk getting eaten by bears. And it was a really tall guy with a stick moving the tree limbs, and then a metal screamer screaming in the woods.
Okay. I I have not, I said I've been out a couple of times. I've not really gotten anything back. But, one of the things, I guess, just with my interest in cryptids, whenever I meet somebody new or I get to know somebody, I always will stop and ask them, when I get comfortable with them, have you seen anything? Have you seen ghosts? Do you believe in aliens, man? And have you experienced anything weird? And I've gotten a couple of different people who've given me stories of them like encountering a Bigfoot. And it's hard for me. I think this is one of the things when we talk about cryptids. I mean, it's easy to go, I don't know if they exist, or think, I've never seen one. But these are people that are, for all intent and purposes, serious people. Like, they're not people that are looking for attention. They wouldn't want people to know about this stuff. And this is always the most compelling thing whenever I watch something on TV or read somebody's experiences, when there are people that are not looking for people to know that they've had this experience. They're solid earth people, not people that usually make these fantastical stories, and they'll tell you that they encountered a Bigfoot. I had a buddy that I used to work with who he remembers when he was younger. This is way down south, in southeastern Kentucky. This is when they were teenagers. They're out in the middle of the woods, and something started hollering and throwing stuff at them. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They had to drive their four wheelers out there, and like they just see like a cooler fly through the air, and it's just something like hollering, screaming. They didn't see like a Bigfoot, but that's the vibe they got, and they all ended up having to drive out of there. And this is a super serious guy. This isn't a guy that would make a big deal about it. It's not something he told a bunch of people. He just told me, and it makes me want to believe that happened. And I don't know. He was obviously freaked out about it. It's hard to explain that away.
Now, you mentioned ghosts. Now, is ghosts, they wouldn't be considered a cryptid. They would be considered their own thing. But do you see a lot of people, like a lot of overlap there between the paranormal? Well, I guess you do see a lot of overlap between the paranormal community and the cryptid community, right?
I mean, I would say so. So you're going to have different opinions, obviously, when you talk about any kind of subject. There's a lot of different opinions about stuff like cryptids. You could get three different people that believe in Bigfoot, and they have three different explanations for what they think Bigfoot is. Someone might say that it's a holdover from like sometime in the past. They might say this is just like an ape that we've not been able to capture or really study, that's living up here in the woods. There's just not a lot of them. Those people believe that Bigfoot is like a real breathing animal, and that's kind of how they approach it. So they're almost like a hunter mentality where they're going out there trying to find it. And then you got people who believe that Bigfoot is, some kind of interdimensional traveler. Like he's like slipping through dimensions from one to another. And you go down this rabbit hole, and that's when you start talking about fairies, and that's about when it loses me. But I mean, ghosts, would kind of maybe fit in the interdimensional. If you go down that rabbit hole, you can connect it all together. But
so
I don't know.
You don't believe in the interdimensional beings?
No, I don't. But if you're talking about Mothman, that's going to be at the heart of it, because I think a lot of people now, if you go to these conventions and stuff, and you talk to people, a lot of people like that theory that a Mothman is from a different dimension or a different plane parallel to us, and maybe they have the ability to see a little bit into the future, not all the way, but they have some kind of insight or ability to know things that we don't know, and that kind of goes into the legend of Mothman and some of the stuff that people talk about.
Let's dive right in, man. What is the legend of Mothman?
Okay, so Mothman is a cryptid that is connected primarily to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Now, there's been sightings all over the world. People talk a lot about flying cryptids or flying humanoids over in Chicago right now. That seems to be a big thing that people talk about. People are now seeing it, but primarily when you think of Mothman, you think of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is where we went. And, there was a bunch of reports back in the 1960s of people seeing this huge winged creature that they kind of described as a moth-like person, like a big bird, essentially, kind of thing. And there was a couple of teenagers that got chased. There's a bunch of sightings of it over by the TNT plant. And then there was a bridge that collapsed. It was the Silver Bridge, and so that there was a lot of sightings around that time of Mothman, and so those two things, that tragedy is kind of connected to Mothman, and people believe that the Mothman either had something to do with it, or most people probably think that he was trying to warn, or it was an omen, like it was some kind of omen that was going to happen. People seeing him in that area,
right? Kind of like in my nerdy way of translating, have you ever read or watched the movie Odd Thomas?
No.
Well, I just posted something about it in the nerd group we were a part of on Facebook a little bit ago. But in Odd Thomas, there are these demonic creatures called the Bodaks. And what the Bodaks do is they show up. They don't really do anything unless you notice them or like make them know that you see them. But what they do is they just show up when something bad is about to happen to watch, pretty much. Like you said, a bad omen. So in my eyes, when you were talking about the Mothman, all the appearances right before the bridge collapsing, I almost imagine them like a bodak, just kind of as an omen, kind of there to watch the shit hit the fan.
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly like 100% the same thing. I'm sure that was, I mean, that was a book. You know when that book was written? Because that was probably, I feel like it was probably derived from the Mothman legend. If you look at the writings of author John Keel, you look at um, even if you look at the Mothman Prophecies movie, I mean that's something that's a big like a big theme is the Mothman seems to know what's going to happen, and if they notice if you notice a Mothman or this interdimensional creature, then it notices that you notice it, and a lot of times they're not necessarily a benevolent thing. It's they seem to have some kind of knowledge just a little bit more than we do, and they use that to toy with people. I mean, not to help people stop tragedies, but to let people know that they're getting ready to happen. Then the tragedies happen, and it just it breaks people.
Hmm. So, this Mothman, it got big enough in this Point Pleasant place that they dedicated a whole museum to it and a statue with a nice big shiny ass on it, and they have entire what do you call it, the events,
The big festival.
yes, festivals
Yeah.
every year dedicated to this cryptid, and you make a pilgrimage out there once a year to this festival. What is that like?
I've been to probably the last 3 or 4. There wasn't one this year. I could say COVID, but like it's just it's when I started going at first, it was kind of like it seemed like a smaller community event. Like it seemed like it was big in the town, but then it seems to have gotten more popular every time I've been out there. They had guest speakers, people that um, are experts in fairies or Bigfoot. A lot of people out there who are Bigfoot hunters. I was out there once, and I think Rosemary Ellen Guiley was speaking, which was super cool for me because when I was a kid, um, I read her books. Like that was one of the first things when I got the internet, I got eBay, was I was like getting books on demonology and cryptids and stuff like that, and pulling up books that she had written. And so get to hear her speak was really cool. But so they pull some interesting people. Like we're talking, people that people have heard about, and there's obviously a music stage, and I mean it's really scenic there. It's beautiful. It's right on the river. There's cosplay, people dressed as Mothman, people dressed up like Men in Black, people dressed up like Ghostbusters. I mean, just whatever whatever you want to do. It's kind of like a celebration of being a nerd. There's horror booths where you can get like horror masks and stuff. It's just like this big festival of weird, and people just go there and be weird, and it's pretty cool.
Sounds wonderful. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to go during festival season. Fuck COVID. But it's I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted by Mothman's ass. But it was definitely an experience. It was definitely a place that existed. It was definitely a thing that we did. I'm trying to,
Yeah,
people keep asking me what was the Mothman Museum like, and I'm just like, it was there. It was a thing. Like it was wild.
yeah. The museum has really it's grown. The first time I went to the museum, I feel like it wasn't very polished. I mean, obviously it was a startup. They're putting things together. It's definitely way more cooler than when it first opened. And I think if you have time to sit there, you can read and look through all the history. We didn't really take the time to do that. But like they have all the newspaper clippings and stuff like that. I mostly like to see the props. It just gives you that feel, um, you know, of like the place, and you get a sense of it. I mean, my favorite thing is obviously the statue, and then I like to go out and walk by the river and see where the bridge collapsed, which is super sad, but which is part of the experience.
But have you noticed in the past few years with with the festival getting bigger that it has coincided with Mothman has almost become a meme
Oh,
lately.
he has, yeah, he has become a meme. If you're on TikTok, then you're probably aware of the Mothman TikToks that are out there. I mean, it seems like it's really gotten popular with Fallout 76 coming out and kind of highlighting some of the West Virginia stuff and some of the local legends. Mothman being a huge one. And last year at the festival, the Fallout people were well, some of the people were there. They're handing out like free merchandise and stuff and using it as a promotion. So, I mean, I think it has. I think Mothman's probably one of the cryptids that has kind of come into his own in the public zeitgeist, and people know who Mothman is, or they have an idea.
You see, I had seen some memes, but I'm not a big Fallout guy, so I didn't even know until we got to the museum and saw a poster of Fallout with Mothman in it in the background that Mothman was in the game or at least mentioned or whatever relation he has to it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like some other, I'm trying to think of other games and other influence of Mothman. So, Fortnite's got a Mothmando costume, like a suit. So I mean that's again it's a throwback, man. It's become part of pop culture. Loch Ness monster not so much. Bigfoot sort of. I think Bigfoot's kind of up there with Mothman, Jersey Devil, Chupacabra not so much. I think it's pick and choose, but I think there's something about Mothman that's just interesting that people I don't know want to know more about or is memeable, I guess.
I remember back in middle school being sick home sick from school, and I think it was either Discovery or History Channel. One of those two was just playing these 30-minute, I guess you would call them documentaries about, they had one on Mothman, then right behind it was like the Chupacabra, then the Jersey Devil, and they were just, there was a time there where they were playing stuff like that on whichever TV station it was. And I remember thinking, people are actually believing in this shit. But now it looks like, there's quite a lot of people that do, yes, indeed, believe in that. And I almost want to say, maybe that was sowing some seeds with the millennials that are out there that believe in all this.
Probably. I mean, if I think back when I was a kid, the kind of stuff that influenced me to look into that kind of stuff was obviously the X Files. It was a big part of my childhood. Sightings was a show that came on. I forget what network it was, but it was like it's like Unsolved Mysteries kind of deal. That kind of stuff kind of planted the seeds in my head when I was a kid, and so yeah, I think there has been like I think I've seen some of the History Channel stuff that you're talking about, kind of planting those seeds with kids and as people grow up. And I think the other thing about these things is we're always interested in the unknown. We always want to think about these things that are like, it's literally a moth flying around me.
You are the
Okay.
Mothman.
I am the Mothman, man. Um, there's just coolness about these dark creatures that may not exist out there, and I mean it's just cool to think about, especially like you're saying, if you're going outside at night, you're smoking a cigarette, and you're by the woods. It's scary, but it's cool to think that there could be something weird out there.
Yeah, I mean, in my brain, it runs wild uh, when I'm outside in the woods. Like, I have an unnatural fear of wendigos. Are you familiar with what a wendigo is?
Sure. Are you talking about like the
The The Native
So you get attacked by
The Native American wood spirit that inspired the movie The Ritual, Pet Cemetery, Lessons from The Witcher.
I didn't know that had influenced The Ritual, which I love. The Ritual. That's a great movie.
Yeah,
Things
that's
like
what
that.
The Ritual is based off of, is the Wendigo.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard. I mean, uh, I think it may be some kind of Japanese. And I talk a lot about video games. Some kind of Japanese RPG used Wendigo as like an icy Bigfoot. So that was the first thing that came to mind. But I know what you're talking about now. You're talking about like some kind of. I usually think of like up in the Dakotas or something up where it's cold, some kind of icy spirit that's slowly like trying to suck the soul out of you. Is what I think of. Is that what you're talking about?
It's often depicted almost as like a woodland minotaur with a deer skull as a head.
Oh, that's sexy.
Yes.
That's way sexier than what I had in my mind. I was thinking of like a creepy old man spirit, but okay.
Oh yeah, they're even in D&D, man. Dungeons and
Okay.
Dragons. My party got
Well,
attacked by one of those couple games back, and I wasn't part of it. But they were like, dude, you missed it. We got attacked by your irrational fear.
so what is it about like a Wendigo? What is it about that bothers you? What makes you worried that there's one of those out in the woods somewhere?
I guess you were asking me, if we had any, specific cryptid or anything around where I'm from, which we don't, and I'm the only one believing in Wendigos and stuff around there, but it is very, very heavy Native American territory out there where I'm from. And that's what the Wendigo comes from, is Native American folklore. And so I guess it's like a combination of, I watched The Ritual one night and then went out in the woods, mixed with just like this I don't know, man. There's like out where I'm from, down in Georgia, there's something in them woods, man. There's just this, I'll be out there smoking a cigarette, just looking into the woods. I'm like, there is something not welcoming going on out there.
You're right. I could see that. I'm not. I was just what you're saying. I would say about like, well, what do I worry about when I'm outside, around the woods and stuff like that. But I'm not really worried about Bigfoots or Mothman or anything like that. But man, I get the creeps when I think about aliens, man, and abductions. I mean, I think that the chances there being alien life out there is statistically way more likely than probably a lot of other things. I mean, I don't know if they would have ships or whatnot, but man, that seems to be the thing that terrifies me, and that's the kind of thoughts I get when I'm out there. I'm just like, I'm always looking up at the skies because it seems like you're so vulnerable. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do if an alien comes up and tries to abduct you?
Bend over, get probed.
Get probed.
But the thing is with aliens and, well, with all of this stuff is there's a lot of people that believe, there's even people that believe that Bigfoot is an alien.
Sure.
And there's definitely, have you seen the growing crowd of people that believe that octopi were at one point aliens?
I've not heard that specifically, but I guess that I could see people saying that. And Bigfoot's alien makes as much sense as anything else to me. I've seen Star Wars. I know that it's possible.
That was my best attempt while not waking your son.
Thank you for that. I can't do it at all, so I'm not even gonna try. But yeah,
Man, there was one night, we were talking about just talking about Star Wars and scary things in the woods. There was one night while I was still in Georgia, I was staying at my parents', and I was drunk as hell, and I just hear these coyotes everywhere. And my dog, or my parents' dog, was outside just barking her head off. And in my head, I was like, "Oh no, I gotta help this dog," because it was in a pen outside. And I'm like, if coyotes try to jump her, she's done for. So I grab a walking stick, go outside, and start doing my best Tuscan Raider, just screeching, just sand people language into the North Georgia woods, and go get this dog, bring it inside. And I'm like, you got to think, what are those coyotes thinking? Like, what in the hell is going on out there? They're probably thinking of Sasquatch or something. They didn't watch Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, man. I mean, I don't know. We have terrible coyotes out here too. It's all over the place. I think you probably scared off any Bigfoot that you got down there in the woods though, because that's probably part of their like mating ritual or something.
Either that or I attracted a Bigfoot in the woods, part of their mating ritual.
Well, you would know if you did that.
I'd
like to hear that story.
You do not want to get bent over by a Bigfoot in the North Georgia woods, all right, boys.
I'm waiting for your Bigfoot erotica. You get to work on that.
Well,
so I mean, go ahead.
No, you continue.
I was gonna say I was gonna switch conversations. I was gonna say, as far as things that I've seen, there's been one experience that I've had that has me like scratching my head. I don't know about it, and it takes place in Grand. So I was actually out there doing a Bigfoot hunt or whatever, and I took my little brother because he's super into cryptids too, and something we bond over. So I took him out there, and a friend of the family was taking us around. We were knocking on trees and hollering and stuff like that to see if we get any responses, which we really didn't. And so when we left, it was starting to get dark, and I mean the roads over there they're pretty bad, pretty curvy. Kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we got to, and I'm not good with names of places. We get to that, you probably know, there's a bridge and it's right next to an old post office.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get right before we get to the bridge, and this was probably, I would say sometime in maybe September. There's just a big clown, like there by the bridge, just fucking standing out there, and it's just a clown, man. I don't know, it's not Halloween. It's not, if it doesn't make sense. I mean, someone was, I guess, wearing a clown suit or something.
How long ago was this?
Dude, it might have been 2 years ago. I'd have to look back and see.
Well, yeah. Do you not remember the year that clowns were everywhere?
This was after that, because I think that was big a handful of years ago. This was more recent than I think all that, because I had that in my mind, because when I was thinking of that, I was like, that's weird. And they were just kind of standing over there, and as we come up to the bridge, they start like walking towards the car. And I was like, no, I don't think so, man. And so I just kind of slowly drive over the bridge, and the clown starts chasing us across the bridge. I mean, he wasn't really fast clown or anything like that, but he was running at us. And so we get, and there's like an abandoned, I don't know if it was a factory or what it was, like a brick place or something. It's like right past that bridge.
Right.
And I stopped there for a second because I almost thought, I mean, I'm going to turn around and take a picture of this motherfucker and see what's going on. But then I thought, well, it could be that this is somebody who's part of like a group. Maybe there's a couple other people. They come up to the car and they pull a gun on us or something crazy. I mean, obviously there's something not right if they're running around, a grown person in a clown outfit in the middle of September. So we ended up just driving off, but I really don't know what or why, what was going on. I mean, it was like in the middle of nowhere. I don't know why someone would be, like, they weren't walking from a house. They were just standing by a bridge.
Killer clowns from outer space, man.
Could be, man. Or the sundown clown. Have you heard of that one? Sam the sundown clown?
No.
That's a weird one. That's a weird cryptid well, I guess it's a cryptid. It's a weird, maybe interdimensional being story, man. It's worth looking at.
Well, we're it's getting late. We're we filled out a good episode. Is there anything else that you would like to leave the viewers with today?
Well, I guess I would encourage your viewers to look around and see if there's any kind of local legends, local cryptids, local things in their area, wherever they're at, man. Look into it. I think it's cool to ask around, ask about local legends, history, stuff like that. I encourage them to do it. And go out there and maybe research it, figure some stuff out. I think it's cool. I think that they would have a good time doing it, man.
All right, you've heard it here. Don't turn around for scary clowns. Search for Bigfoot, believe in Mothman, and most importantly, stay saucy, you-ho bags. This has been the Confound Millennial, starring Steven Stirvin Michaels and featuring guest co-host Derrick the Mothman Man Piercy.
Hey.
I'm tired of these confound millennials.